right, yeah! Thank God for fantasy football. I'm Buster Brown, and the show is called Redemption Rehab. Today, we're talking about running back coming in the NFL in the 2025 NFL Draft that are going to impact fantasy football for years to come. So buckle up, get out your popcorn, and let's head over to the chalkboard.
Check out the facts.
All right, here we are on a website called drafttech.com. They're going to rank the players at running back coming into the 2025 NFL Draft in the order in which they think will be taken, and they start with this guy, Austin Gente of Boise State. He's 5'8", 211-pound junior, and he's going to be a superstar in the NFL. Draft Tech has him ranked as their number 5 overall player. What did this guy do? Well, besides running a 4.43 in the 40-yard dash, which is huge, he was runner-up in the Heisman Trophy race to Travis Hunter out of Colorado. He was the Maxwell Award winner. He was the Doak Walker Award winner. He was the Bobby Bowden Trophy winner. He was the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Trophy winner. He was an unbelievable unanimous All-American in 2024. Why? Well, because he rushed for 2,601 yards in one season, and he, of course, was a consensus All-American. There was a dozen other awards. This guy is easily a top 10 pick in the NFL Draft. He is easily the first overall pick in your dynasty leagues, and he will be a first or second round pick in all your other fantasy leagues, depending upon who takes them in the 2025 NFL Draft. You ask yourself why? Well, in 40 games, he rushed the ball 750 times for 4,769 yards with a 6.4-yard average and a whopping 50 touchdowns. Can he catch the ball? Yeah, you bet he can catch the ball. In his 3 years at Boise State, he caught 80 passes for 862 yards with a 10.8-yard average with another 6 TDs. In 2023, in one season, he caught 43 passes. Austin Gente is a willing and competitive pass blocker that will need some improvement at the next level. He played 3 solid years. He's as good as any running back to come into the NFL as in any prior year. That's very high praise. However, in the 2025 draft, this is a deep group of running backs. Austin Gente is my favorite to win the Rookie of the Year in 2025 if he's healthy all year. And I'll tell you what, NFL scouts love this guy. But he's not the only running back in this draft. Like we said, this is a deep group of running backs. I think he goes in the top 10 picks. Who else do we like? I'll tell you what, man. How do you not like Omarion Hampton of North Carolina? 6 foot, 220-pound junior. This guy is ranked in the top 50 on Draft Tech also. This guy's an all-around football player. Let's check out some of his highlights. Omarion Hampton, like I said, out of North Carolina, 6 foot, 220-pound junior. He played 3 years at North Carolina, and in 30 games, he had 622 rushes for a whopping 3,565 yards. That's a 5.7-yard average, and he scored 36 touchdowns. In 2024, he rushed the ball for 1,660 yards. Can he catch the ball? Yeah, he can catch the ball. How about 73 receptions for 635 yards and another 4 TDs with an average 8.7 per reception. He had a solid 2 years at North Carolina. He is considered an exceptional pass blocker, which is huge in the NFL. That means he's going to never leave the field. He could go in the first round in the NFL Draft. That's how good this guy is. Is he fast? Well, how about a 4.46 in the 40-yard dash? And he's strong. How about 18 reps on the bench press at the NFL Combine? I mean, if you're looking for a quality all-around running back, this is your guy, Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. I'll tell you what, a guy that caught my attention in the playoffs of the college playoffs system that they do was this guy, Cameron Scattaboo out of Arizona State. How about 5'10", 219-pound senior? Only played there 2 years. Let's take a look at some of his stats. Tell you what, man, I love a football player, and this guy, solid 2 years at Arizona State. 5'10", 219-pound senior. He finished 5th in the Heisman Trophy race in 2024. Problem was, that 4.6 40-yard dash has him falling down some draft boards in the NFL. He's a solid day 2 pick. He played in 25 games at Arizona State. He ran the ball 457 times for 2,494 yards at a 5.5-yard average with 30 touchdowns. And he ran the ball in 2024 for 1,711 yards. Can he catch the ball? Hell yeah, he can catch the ball. How about 69 receptions in 2 years for 891 yards and a 12.9-yard average? That's huge, with 4 more TDs. In 2024, he had 45 receptions in 1 year. He's considered a strong pass blocker, which means he'll never leave the field once he's in there. It's important to protect the quarterback. Now you're asking yourself, where are these guys going to go in like a draft? I'll tell you what, let's take a look and see where they're going in some of your regular season drafts and some of your dynasty drafts to compare those figures. Okay, here we are looking at a 12-team PPR best ball draft on RT Sports, which is one of our affiliates. And this is where the running backs are going prior to the NFL draft on April 24th. I told you Austin Gente was going to go in round 1. He did go there. The next running back we talked about was Amari Hampton. He went in round 5. And the last guy we just talked about went in round 15, Cam Scattaboo out of Arizona State. Let's take a look and see where some of these other guys are going. How about Travion Henderson out of Ohio State? He shared the backfield with this guy, Quinshawn Judkins out of Ohio State. Next round, round 8, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. He was a consensus All-American next to Austin Gente. In round 12, you have Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. You got Bashil Tootin out of Virginia Tech going in round 17. He led the combine in a 40-yard dash at 4.32, so he's moving up draft boards. Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State. He had an amazing 2023 that we're going to talk about. Other guys that are being drafted, how about R.J. Harvey out of UCF? Let's take a look and see where some of these guys are going in your 5-round rookie drafts in your Dynasty League. Okay. This is a 12-team PPR Dynasty League rookie draft on fantasypros.com. I'll tell you what I like. Austin Gente's going here at number 1, which he should be the first pick in all your Dynasty League drafts. I told you how much I like him, followed by Amari Hampton. But look, we've got a surprise. Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, and Quinshawn Judkins are the next 3 running backs gone in the first round, followed by Cam Scattaboo at the beginning of the second round. We're going to talk about all those guys. We're going to talk about Dylan Sampson, Devin Neal, Bashil Tootin. These are all guys we're going to talk about. We're going to show you their highlights, statistics, along with R.J. Harvey, Ollie Gordon, and DJ Skidden. Hey, if you like what you see here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. To get all our videos this year on our players impacting fantasy football in the NFL draft, and later once the season starts, our weekly waiver wire report. Let's head back to Draft Tech and take a look at some of the other players you should be looking at in fantasy football. Okay, here we are back on Draft Tech. We're looking at their rankings, how they're going to be drafted in the 2025 NFL Draft. And the next guy on the list is this guy here, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. 6'1", 224-pound junior. Let's take a look at some of his highlights. Tell you what, man, you got to like what Caleb Johnson did out of Iowa. Man, in 2024, he was a consensus All-American next to Ashton Gente. That's big time. In 3 years over at Iowa, in 35 games, he rushed the ball 508 times for 2,779 yards, a 5.5-yard average, and 30 touchdowns. He doesn't catch a lot of passes. He did catch 29 in his 3 years for 240 yards at an 8.3 yard average and another 2 touchdowns. He does return kickoffs, which increases his value in the NFL draft. He ranked number 70 as far as draft tech is concerned, and they only had one solid year at Iowa. Pass blocking needs work, which he's going to have to do in the NFL because you don't want to get your quarterback killed. So he's got some work to do there. He doesn't have the resume as some of these other guys as far as many years, but we do like Caleb Johnson, and where he goes in fantasy football leagues depends upon where he's drafted in the NFL. I'll tell you what, you're going to hear a lot about these two guys right here out of Ohio State, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. They're both out of Ohio State. They both won a national championship, and I'll tell you what, they're going to affect fantasy football for years to come. Let's take a look at some of their highlights. How about Travion Henderson? Man, this guy is fast. He played at Ohio State, played there 4 solid years, meaning he was a contributor each year. He's only 5'10", 202 pounds, senior. In 47 games, though, he had 590 rushes for 3,761 yards for a 6.4 yard average. He did manage to score 42 touchdowns. Can he catch the ball? You bet he can. He had 77 receptions for 853 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's an 11-yard average. He's considered probably the best blocking back in this draft. He runs a 4.43 in the 40-yard dash. This guy's not coming off the field. His running mate at Ohio State, however, Quinshon Johnson, he played 3 years in college. All 3 were very solid, pretty much all 1,000-yard seasons. He played 2 years at Ole Miss before transferring to Ohio State. He's 6 foot, 220-pound junior. He managed to play in 3 years, 42 games. He ran the ball 739 times for 3,785 yards for a 5-yard average with 45 touchdowns. In those 42 games, he had 59 receptions for 442 yards, with a 7.5 yard average and another 5 touchdowns. His pass blocking skills need to improve in the NFL. His pass catching skills need to improve in the NFL, but he did manage at the combine to run a 4.48 in the 40-yard dash, and his physical style, the way he runs the ball, has the NFL scouts. I mean, they really like this guy. So don't be surprised if you see both Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins being drafted in all your fantasy football leagues. So I'll tell you what, I like those guys. These next couple guys, man, I'll tell you what, Dylan Sampson over at Tennessee, 5'8", 200-pound junior. I'll tell you what, let's take a look at some of his highlights because he's really good. Okay, Dylan Sampson played 3 years at Tennessee. One of those years was really good. Draft Tech has him ranked at number 83, and he's good, man. He really is. He's 200 pounds, 5'8". He was SEC Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, that's huge. He was an all-SEC academic player, meaning this guy's smart and gets good grades, so he's good on the field, off the field, which I like, and so do many scouts. In 35 games, he rushed the ball 422 times for 2,492 yards. That's almost a 6-yard average with 35 touchdowns. He probably could catch the ball more. In 3 years, he only caught 40 passes for 342 yards, 8.6-yard average with 1 TD. The worst part about his game is his pass blocking. He needs to really work on that going into the NFL. And he's had 13 reps on the bench, and he's got average speed for a running back. The other guy we want to talk about here is DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. I'll tell you what, this guy played 2 quality years over there at Kansas State. He's 6 foot, 212-pound junior. Let's take a look at some of his highlights. You got to like what he did over there. DJ Giddens at Kansas State, 6 foot, 212-pound junior. He only played in 39 games, had 517 rushes for 3,087 yards. He had 23 touchdowns. He did manage to catch 58 passes for 679 yards. That's an 11.7 yard average with 4 TDs. This guy is an excellent pass blocker in the backfield, so he can stay on the field for all 3 downs. He has very good hands in the passing game, and he's fast. 4.43 in the 40-yard dash. So these are the top 8 running backs. You got to stick around. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll tell you what, these next few guys are sleeper picks, and you're going to be picking these guys up probably on your waiver wire in all your fantasy football leagues, because let's face it, if you don't draft good running backs in your draft, you're going to have to get them on the waiver wire, and these are the guys that are probably going to be available in most of your leagues. Starting with this guy, Devin Neal out of Kansas. I'll tell you what, this guy is one of my sleeper picks. 5'11", 213-pound senior. He played 4 years at Kansas, nearly 1,000 yards every year, and I'll tell you right now, I like him a lot. He played in 49 games. His rushing stats, he managed to rush the ball 760 times for 4,343 yards. That's a 5.7 yard average and 49 touchdowns. That's amazing. Can he catch the ball? Hell yeah, he can catch the balls. How about 77 receptions for 711 yards? That's a 9.2 yard average with 4 more touchdowns. He's considered an effective pass blocker, so he's going to stay on the field all 3 downs. And he's fast. 4.5 in the 40-yard dash. And, he's got potential depending upon which NFL team takes him in this year's draft. I'll tell you what, man, there's these next few guys. I'm really high on these guys, so don't be surprised if they get drafted in your league, because their names are starting to get out there. This kid here, man, Bashal Tutin out of Virginia Tech. You're probably thinking, well, who's Bashal Tutin? I agree. Most people don't know about him, but when he ran a 4.3 at the NFL Combine, people are like, huh? Guess what? Let's take a look at his stats. Bashal Tutin, 5'9", 206 pounds, senior out of Virginia Tech, which he only played there 2 years. Both of them were good years. In 24 games, how about 356 attempts rushing for 2,022 yards and a 5.7 yard average with 25 touchdowns. Can he catch the ball? Yeah, he can catch the ball. 50 receptions in 2 years for 320 yards, mostly out of the backfield. 6.4 yard average with another 4 TDs. His pass blocking at times is very good. Other times, it needs more consistency. But why this guy's flying up draft boards? He ran a 4.32 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. So that's why people like Bashal Tutin out of Virginia Tech, which is a team, Virginia Tech likes to run the ball. Another guy, R.J. Harvey, University of Central Florida. Well, this guy had a good career. 5'8", 207. Senior. Let's take a look at some of his highlights. R.J. Harvey, like I said, University of Central Florida, 5'8", 207-pound senior. He ran the ball in 41 games, 579 times for 3,792 yards. That's a 6.5 yard average. That's very good with 43 touchdowns. He can catch the ball. In 4 years, he had 61 catches for 720 yards. That's an 11.8 yard average and 4 touchdowns. He is also a decent kick returner on kickoffs, but his pass blocking will need improvement in the NFL. If you're going to stay in the field, you got to be able to pass block, and that's going to need improvement for R.J. Harvey. He did manage to run a 4.4 in the 40-yard dash, and he did manage to put up 16 reps on the bench press, so he's very strong. 16 reps, 18 reps for some of these running backs considered exceptional. I'll tell you what, this next guy, I couldn't wait to get to him, Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State, 6'1", 226 pounds. Man, this guy was like a Heisman Trophy candidate in 2023, almost won the whole thing. But in 2024, he fell off. Not sure what happened there. Maybe the team wasn't as good as it was the year before. Let's take a look at some of his stats. I tell you what, like I said, he's one of my sleeper picks. Played 3 years. One of the things he didn't do well is he didn't run well in the 40. 4.6. That's not good for a running back. In 2023, though, this is where he got on the map for most NFL scouts. He finished 7th in the Heisman. He was the consensus All-American in 2023. In 2023, he was also Offensive Player of the Year in the Big 12. He won the Doak Walker Award. He led the nation in rushing with 1,732 yards and 23 touchdowns. And he led the nation in plays from scrimmage and yards from scrimmage in 2023. So, I mean, he had a really big year. But in 39 games, he rushed the ball at Oklahoma State 537 times for 2,920 yards with a 5.4-yard average and 36 touchdowns. He does catch the ball. In 3 years, he caught 80 passes for 585 yards with a 7.3-yard average and 4 touchdowns. He is considered a quality blocker. Look and see who he gets drafted by in the NFL. And you want to keep an eye on him on your waiver wire because I'll tell you what, I don't think he'll last long. And that's pretty much it. But I do want to mention this Damian Martinez out of Miami, Florida. You can see here Draft Tech has him moving up 55 spots because he blew up at the combine. You need to know who he is. He's 6 foot, 217 pounds. You know, he had 3 1,000-yard seasons over there at Miami, Florida. And I'll tell you what, he ran a 4.5 in the 40. But he did well on everything at the combine. So I wouldn't be surprised if Damian Martinez was being picked up on your waiver wire come week 1 or 2, depending upon who takes him in the NFL draft. I'll tell you what, that's it for our rookies that are going to impact fantasy football at the running back position heading into the 2025 NFL draft. I'm Buster Brown. The show is called Redemption Rehab. Good luck.